All right, I think we should be live in here. Gosh, it's feel like it's been a while since I've done one of these, but what's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing? Um, Happy Wednesday,
Definitely
right?
Wednesday.
Yeah, I had to think about that for a second. I'm really excited about our guest today. I'm really excited to get to rap a little bit and I feel like if there's one area, you know, I know that you have a Facebook group just for that has a lot going on with sales, Ryan, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that's an area where we don't really talk about that much. So
Right.
I'm really excited to dig into the sales stuff for sure. I know that's not all that we're going to talk about, but I know that you have an epic, you know, Ryan, guys, if you don't know, she's got an epic Facebook group, Sales Skills for Women in Business. 2,700 members. If you guys aren't a member yet, go and join that now and come back. But welcome, Ryan. How's it going?
Hi. Awesome. Going really well. Thanks, Charlie. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Excited to have you here.
Yeah.
Thanks for stopping by.
It's almost like we didn't plan this, right?
I know, right? It's like I got to knock on my Facebook group door.
And we didn't have to strong arm Zoom into being able to do this or anything.
Right. I know, right? Oh my gosh. Technical difficulties, guys. I tell you what. Anyway, I'll be honest, I don't know, your whole story,
Sure.
And your origin story. So, I mean, the first question that I have for you is, how did you get into this adventure that we call entrepreneurship and business? And, what was kind of your adventure?
Sure. Great question. It has certainly been an adventure, Charlie. And so I actually grew up in the corporate world. So been in sales my entire career. Started selling radio advertising when I was 21 years old. I worked for a top 40 radio station in Orlando, Florida. It was so much fun. And I very quickly learned that I could make a lot of money really fast. Which most people just out of college don't have that experience, right? So I was like, this is kind of cool. And my sales career evolved over the years, spending most of my time in digital marketing. Went from in advertising and then digital marketing. Individual contributor, sales trainer and coach for a startup, channel sales manager, director of sales. And then my final foray was director of sales for a digital ad agency here in Kansas City, which is where I call home. And it was like my dream job. And I'm so excited. I didn't have to travel anymore. I was going to live on the road. I was going to get to run my own team. And it was going to be amazing. And 4 months into it, I was like, I'm not sure I really want to do this. I had a total identity crisis over it, which I feel like a lot of us do when we're like, well, holy shit, I've wanted to do the same thing my entire life. And now I don't want to do that thing anymore. And I don't know what to do. And so it took a lot of soul searching and networking and connecting and trial and error and creating a brand, doing something totally different and being like, I don't even want to do that, until I landed on there are armies and armies of people starting businesses that have incredible skills and incredible gifts, and they have never sold anything before in their life. And I work primarily with women, as you had mentioned earlier with my group. And what I found is things like self-promotion and money conversations and conversations with strangers are just not things that if you've not been in sales, you've not been taught to do.
Right.
And oftentimes it feels really uncomfortable and really scary. And just kind of started building slowly but surely and push this giant rock up a hill like we do in entrepreneurship. And really feel like this past, I'd say 6 months, things just really exploded. And I am just so honored and excited to work alongside the women I work with, helping them learn to sell in a way that feels good to them. How to have those conversations, how to get over those fears of putting yourself out there, how to reframe your thoughts around sales. So that's really my wheelhouse, and it's so much fun. And it's one of those things, and I think I've seen you talk about it in social. It's one of those how did I get here? And is this real life that this is what I get paid to do?
Right.
So
cool. It's awesome. By the way, somebody commented in here. Cassandra commented, "Can we drop the link for your Facebook group in here?" So I don't know if you know it off the top of your head, or if we can.
It is. I think it's /sales skills for women in business, or it's facebook.com/sales skills for women in business.
Okay, I'll type that in real quick.
Yeah.
I am curious. I do have one huge question for you. Did you have a DJ name over there at the radio station?
No, I worked in sales. I never got a DJ name. I was the only female voice for a long time, and I recorded an epic number of commercials back in 2004 in Orlando, Florida.
Awesome.
I was like the female voice on like almost every club spot in Orlando.
That's awesome.
But it was just because I was the only young female on the team that could record those spots. And I can talk really fast if you haven't identified yet. So when like they were like, what can we fit into 30 seconds? Who can get through this? It was always me.
Yeah, that 30-second spot. That's awesome. That's funny. What's the craziest like radio spot? Have you heard any crazy radio ads or anything like that you sold?
So in Orlando back in the day, there was a club called Club Paris, which was literally Paris Hilton's nightclub, but it wasn't actually Paris Hilton's nightclub. It was her brand and some dude that ran it. And they ran some really edgy, really weird stuff. But that was like back in the day when she was relevant. Obviously, I mean, maybe she is, and I'm just too old, but at that point in time, she was very relevant. Yeah. And, you know, they could only have licenses to like certain parts of her voice and things that she said. Wow. And so those commercials were always really weird. That's kind of creepy. And like they were intended to be like sensual, and they were just weird. It was gross.
Okay. Wow.
I was like, that's the first, when you asked the question, I was like, ooh, those Paris spots were so bad.
That's funny. So I think a lot of us, when we're first starting out, we inherently we're like, okay, this business, you know, getting into this business thing sounds amazing and it's incredible, but there's a hell of a lot of challenges especially when you're first starting out. And I think you might agree with me. What are some challenges that you've come across, you know, when you were first starting out, and, you know, maybe share some stories about like how you overcame some of those things and that.
Sure. So one of the things that I found very different, Charlie, even having spent 15 years in sales, is the idea of selling myself. The no felt so much more personal than, you know, I'm not going to buy that company, or I'm not going to buy that service that you offer. It very much felt like I'm not going to buy you. Mm-hmm. And that was really scary and uncomfortable and messed with my head and messed with my confidence. And you know, the biggest way, honestly, I don't have like a magic formula to overcome that other than to just do it and give yourself the grace of knowing like you're going to say stupid stuff. Uh-huh. Like you're going to put your foot in your mouth. You're going to do really weird things when you're first getting started because you're nervous and you're anxious and you've never done it before. But it really is about practice. Something I actually coach on quite a bit is like pulling up Zoom and watching yourself talk about what you do and getting comfortable doing that. Because I have one girl, she was like, I hate Zoom. She's like, I don't like looking at myself. And I'm like, well, you don't actually have to. You can hide that if you don't want to. Just look at the camera. But like, it was just really uncomfortable for her. So for me, it was learning to sell myself in a really confident way. Because before I was selling somebody else, like I was selling it, but somebody else was going to fulfill it. And if somebody else failed, they were going to fail, right? Like it wasn't me. I just sold it. And so that like having to detach from the service I provided and being really confident in the skill that I had built over 15 years and knowing that, you know, I had built and really lending on that previous experience. So selling myself, one, and then two, not feeling like my career started when I started to run a business. So what I see happens is you teach people, you know, to grow accounting businesses. And maybe you are newer to accounting and to having an accounting business, but you're not new to business, most people, right? Like most people have been in business before. You've done something before that attributes to that. And we think, well, I just decided to be an entrepreneur last week, so I don't have any experience. And I'm like, no, you have years and years and years of experience. Maybe it wasn't doing exactly what you're doing right this second, but you have experience. So those are kind of two sides of the same coin of like how I learned to overcome it. It's, yes, I'm brand new to entrepreneurship, but I am not brand new to the skill, and I'm not brand new to business, and I'm not brand new to overcoming objections. They're different objections now, right? Like we didn't get spouse objections in corporate America, but I get them all the time now. And so it's just a different conversation and lending those things. So those are probably some of the largest challenges I really had, was learning to make that shift of not taking the no's personally. And the biggest way I knew it was just hearing it a lot.
Love that. Yeah. Persistence. And, you know, for this audience in particular, I think, you know, a lot of people moved from maybe accounting, an accounting firm or
Okay.
or in an accounting department of a business, and they just decided they wanted to go out on their own, and they had a passion for actually delivering the service, not as much of a passion for and when definitely not the definitely not the experience on the sales side, where so that's something where there's a lot of there's not a lot of experience for a lot of people in the audience. So they really haven't gotten those reps. They haven't done the 10,000 hours or, whatever people say to get the skill. So what I'm leading to is you really need to get the reps, and to do that, it takes getting more sales appointments and opportunities. And that's something else that we wanted to talk a little bit about today was how do you get, how would you recommend somebody starting out, start to get these opportunities?
Sure. Great questions. The biggest thing, when people come to me and they say, Ryann, I'm really stuck. I can't find any clients. I don't know how to find clients. The first question I ask, Charlie, is how many new people are you talking to every day? And 99% of the time they're like one or two. Yeah. And that's why it takes us so long to reach mastery, because we're talking to one or two people at a time. So the first thing I tell people to do is go talk to everyone. And I know we want to have a niche and we want to have an ideal client, but I want you to practice saying that I own an accounting business, that I run an accounting business, to the point where it feels real. What I found myself doing early on was well, I have a business, but I'm also the director of sales for this ad agency. I felt the need to justify it until I got really comfortable, saying that I ran a business, and it was a little baby business at the time, but I was running a business. So that's the first thing, is let's not worry so much about well, that person's not my ideal client, or I'm not even sure that person needs me, and just go talk to people, because inevitably what you do will come up. And I mean everywhere. I'm talking the coffee shop, I'm talking church, I'm talking, preschool pickup, I am talking, work holiday cocktail party, or your spouse's work holiday cocktail party. Wherever you get the opportunity to talk to people, practice saying what you do and really owning that that's who you are. So naturally, that'll come. How'd you get into that? What do you do? Da-da-da-da-da. Oh, my brother-in-law has a business. Just by naturally talking about it, people will start to identify people that need you, even if they're not the people that need you. And so what I see happen too, really early on, is we're well, my ideal client is lawn keeping businesses, and that person doesn't own a lawn, is in a lawn landscaping company, so they're not my client. I don't need to talk to them. How do you know that they're not married to somebody who owns a landscaping business? How do you know their brother doesn't have a landscaping business, right? Go talk to all of the people and be willing to have conversations with people who are not your ideal client, because I would rather flub up and say something stupid to somebody that I only kind of sort of want to work with than someone that I'm really excited to work with, right?
Right.
So take the calls, even if you think they can't afford you, even if you think they're not a good fit. Practice getting on the calls, practice having conversations with people. I train my people, take all the coffee chats, practice talking about what you do, practice positioning yourself as an authority, practice answering questions about it, because the more that you do it, the better you will get at it and the more confident you'll become. And then in your next conversation, you'll be able to say, oh yeah, well, I was talking to somebody last week and they had blah, blah, blah problem. So what if they weren't a client, but you had a conversation about what you did last week, and then you start to kind of develop a little bit of that swagger, because you realize you start to hear the same questions, the same fears, the same pain points. You're like, okay, dude, I got this, right? So that the biggest way to book more sales calls is to talk to more people.
Right.
Tell them what you do, and when appropriate, say, hey, that's actually what I do in my accounting business I was telling you about. If you're interested, I'd really welcome a conversation. No pressure. And I'm not one of those salespeople, and this is actually probably why the women I work with love working with me so much, is that I don't want to force you. I don't think we are convincing people to buy from us. We are compelling them to buy from us. And people don't like to be sold to, and I'm going to get on my soapbox for a hot minute, because they have been sold to in a really yucky way before. And they're like, oof, this person's going to try to pitch me services, and I don't even need an accountant. And they're physically backing away from you while you talk. But I want you to know, no pressure, man. But if this is a problem that you're having, that is actually what I do with my clients. And I'd love to have a conversation when that makes sense. And you'll be amazed the number of people that are like, yeah, we should talk about that. Or yeah, call me after the holidays. Or, we're getting ready to go through a rebrand, or we're getting ready to go through a buyout, or whatever. Call me back. And the most important part is to make sure you call those people back. But talk to the people, and don't be so worried about, of they're not my ideal client, or I'm not sure I can solve their problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that goes for even more. There's even more importance to that when you're starting out, for sure.
Yes.
For absolutely. And I want to tag on a little bit to that. When I work with my clients, I actually we look at what their goals are from usually when I ask somebody what their goal is, it'll be something like, I want to make 10,000 a month.
Right.
And what that comes down to ultimately is how many people you talk to, right? Because that's going to lead to how many appointments that you get, which is exactly what you're talking about. So I love that, and I completely agree on that. That's really good stuff. And I see a comment in the chat actually from Jeff, and Jeff, he's been getting, and this is a super common objection,
right?
Whatever, and it's I already have an accountant, I already have a tax accountant.
Sure.
So, there's what would you say to somebody that says that, if anything?
Are you 100% happy with the service you're getting from that person?
Okay.
Because very few people are 100% happy with the service they're getting from anyone.
And that lets you open up further what they say, not 100%. You could say,
right,
probably make it 100%, or you could.
Or it's one of those, normally you'll get I only really deal with them at tax time. And you're like, well, did you know that you could benefit working with an accountant? You're like, it just opens a door to a conversation.
Right.
And I wish I could coin that. We used to work for a digital ad agency, and I got that from one of the sales trainers from one of the vendors that we worked on. And because working in advertising, everyone's like, oh yeah, we already have an agency, or we already have somebody who does that. I trained my people to start asking that question. And the number of calls they got was exponentially higher, because they would ask, well, are you 100% happy with the service that you're getting? Because again, not the result, right? Because an accountant is an accountant. Sorry, non-accountant saying that. You guys don't vilify me for saying that, but that's what they think. We have an accountant as an accountant, but like, are you 100% happy with the service you're getting? Does your accountant return your phone calls? Does your accountant ask you any questions about the business? They give you any advice, or do they just take the stuff you hand them and do your taxes? Like, really start thinking about, well, am I 100% happy? Should I be getting something different from my accountant? I hadn't really thought of that before, because nobody challenges on them, because most people go home with their tail between their leg when somebody says that.
Gotcha. Jeff said good one, or Jeff said love that. So that's a good answer. And the other thing, guys, is from a positioning standpoint of your services. I mean, this is something we were talking about on a coaching call yesterday, to find ways to position your services. So I'm not an accountant, I'm not a bookkeeper, I'm a profit specialist, I'm a business advisor, and that reframes what they think you do. So that's not really sales-esque, I guess, but it
is. I mean, I think it's important, because when you say that, I would give a tagline to that. So one of the things I teach, Charlie, is the idea of like the positioning statement, the I help statement. Because we want to start a conversation. So maybe it's I help, not landscapers. I saw somebody's comment, like, do not work with landscapers. Got it. Like, I help physicians' offices maximize profit by putting in place whatever. And people are like, that's really interesting. How do you do that? Actually, I'm an accountant and blah, 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 blah. Right? So leading with that I help statement about the result that you get your people, which is maximize profit, or, lessen tax liability, or whatever it is you help your people do, because again, their accountant's just their accountant. Like, you help maximize profit. That's interesting. My accountants never talked to me about maximizing profit. Right?
Totally.
So, something along those lines that makes you stand out. Because what you don't want to do is just say, like, I'm a profit strategist, and people are like, I have no idea what that means, but should I know what that means? And I don't want to look stupid by asking what that means. So that's why I kind of like the I help statement, where you say, I help maximize profit. I help, implement tax strategy. I help whatever. So,
well, yeah, I love that. That's awesome. So yeah. Think about that, guys. If you guys have any questions, please put something below. Yeah, Cassandra says I own a landscaping company, so I was kind of joking. I just refuse that niche.
She was like, no. I was like, sorry, I didn't know landscapers were an issue. I was just thinking I know small businesses that are usually solopreneurs that have trouble managing their finances, because they get the bulk of their business in like 6 months out of the year, and could probably benefit from having somebody figure that out for them.
That's awesome. So from a generating appointment standpoint, like we were talking about, talk to everybody, start conversations. Do you have any more like practical advice on that in terms of like what questions to ask that may lead to more opportunities?
Sure. So I teach kind of some like qualifying pillars, right? So meaning there's some things you need to know. Like a business has to be making money to need an accountant, right? So I like to ask people like questions like, how long have you been in business? Or, why are you so passionate about what you do? Like, I'm trying to figure out a little bit more to be like, is this person even really worth having a conversation with? And then I'm very direct and I'm very to the point. So if we're chit-chatting, we're having a conversation, say we're in a Facebook group. Let's take it online. I think it's easier offline to feel more human. Conversation's the same online, guys. We're in a networking group. I meet Charlie. We're chit-chatting. Come to find out he does whatever he does. And I'm like, ooh, that kind of fits in what I think I could do. I'm asking him, how long have you been in business? What do you really like about your job? What's your favorite thing about the work that you do? And then I might say, hey, Charlie, thank you so much for sharing. Like, I've really enjoyed getting to know you. I'll be honest, like you totally fit in the wheelhouse of the people I love supporting alongside of them. And if you would be open to it, I'd really love to have a conversation if that's something you're looking for. And just being direct in it, but being human about it. Like, there's no like, here's my Calendly link, want to chat? It's like, no, like, I think you're really awesome. I've loved what you've shared with me. I checked out your website. I went to, and I really enjoy what you've done. And you totally fit the profile of the clients that I really love supporting in my business. Would you be open to having a conversation? No pressure, no big deal. And then if they say, no, thank you, you have to be okay with saying like, okay, cool. Well, I do a lot of networking. So who do you need to meet? Because what most people do is after that, no, thank you, we go, we like ghost them, right? But no, I want to provide value because I want to be a pattern interrupt. I want to be different than every other person dropping links in your inbox, right? So I want to say like, who can I introduce you to? Who do you need to meet? What's important to you in your business? How can I help promote you? Do you have anything big going on? Like, I'm happy to share across my social platforms, but really seeking to provide value after the no goes so far to build a relationship. I think it's really powerful.
That's great. Yeah. And I think that might be even where accountants, they're thinking, I don't want to be salesy and I don't want to, I have to sell people. And if we can reframe that a little bit to more like we're providing value, we're helping people, we're having conversations with people and networking and building relationships, I think that becomes a lot easier when you reframe things that way.
The way we talk about it over in my community, Charlie, is selling is helping. It is my job to help you make a decision, even if the answer is no. Like, I view my job as helping people make decisions. And sometimes the answer is no, I don't need what you offer. And sometimes the answer is like, I'm not sure yet, which is where I provide value. And sometimes the answer is no, and that's totally okay. But that's kind of my whole philosophy behind selling is, first of all, we chose this business. We chose to become business owners. So essentially we chose to become salespeople who have to own that. And then second of all, we really need to just view it as helping, and if that person says no, you never know who they know. You never know who they network with. You never know who they connect with. So really thinking about, like you said, providing value, connecting with people, rolling with the nose, being a real human, and selling to people the way you enjoy being sold to. And it just kind of totally changes things. It's no longer this thing we do. We don't sell to people. We have sales conversations with people.
Yeah. I love this. This is so good. You said selling people the way that you'd want to be sold to. And I think a lot of people when they're starting out, they're like, what works, what's going to work. And they don't think like what would I respond to? Or it's like, people are like, oh, let's message a bunch of people on LinkedIn. They're like, and then if you go look at your inbox, probably not a lot of people responding to those, you're probably not responding to a lot of those messages that you're getting yourself, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And then there's just people that are like, well, I just don't like to be sold to. And I'm like, but you buy stuff every day. So somebody's selling to you in some way. And then I also think that's a mindset shift too. Like I see all these people that get all bent out of shape about being pitched. Keep getting pitched. I keep getting friend requests and getting pitched. And I'm like, to me, if you are bent out of shape about being pitched, it's probably because you feel really uncomfortable pitching. And I also think that that's what's being expected of you. I don't believe we pitch until we have permission to pitch. So there is no pitch. I remember I grew up selling advertising. And so I remember being in Ardmore, Oklahoma, which if you're from Ardmore, it's a lovely place. But I remember sitting in front of a car dealer because I sold advertising and then being like, all right, sweetheart, which just made my skin crawl. And he was like, all right, sweetheart, what do you got for me? And I was like, well, I don't have anything for you. Like, I'm really here to learn more about you. And I was on a 4-legged sales call with a rep who you could tell this poor guy is just mortified that this is happening. And I'm like the corporate trainer. And he's like, oh, dear God. And anyways, what do you got for me? And I'm like, well, I don't have anything. Like, I'm here to have a conversation. He's like, well, you have to sell something. And I'm like, I have 21 products. In digital marketing, there's a lot of products, but I have to better understand you to do that. And he just looked at me like I had 4 heads, which really just reminded me that most salespeople would have responded to that. They would have been like, let me show you, like, let me pull up in my coat and show you all the crap that I have. And I was like, no. Like, we're going to have a conversation. And if we're not a fit to work together, then we're not. And it just totally changes the dynamic of the conversation when you're not willing to just pitch, right? Like when you get those DMs of like, how much do you charge for your services? No, we're going to have a conversation and we're going to talk about what makes sense. And if you even need my services before I'm going to tell you how much I charge for my services.
Right. It's so funny how many parallels there are to this and like dating sometimes.
Yes. I wrote a blog about that when I was single. I'm married and a little boring now, but I remember like back before blogging was cool about like how selling was dating and how they were like the same thing.
Yeah. So think about that, guys. Like when you're, outreach or you're doing direct outreach and that kind of thing, like, is this something that would be a turn on or a turn off, like,
right. And the biggest thing is even when you're dating and selling, nobody can resist a compliment, like you can't, like if you're at a coffee shop and somebody's like, oh my God, I love your shoes. You're not just going to look at them funny. You're going to be like, oh, thank you. And if you're a woman, you're going to tell them where you got them and how much you paid. But you're now in a conversation with the person standing next to you. And so how does that translate on the internet? I checked out your website. I checked out your social media. I listened to your podcast. I checked out your YouTube channel. I think you guys are so fun. Nobody doesn't respond to a compliment, and if you are, you're just a jerk. So I'm big on, lead with a compliment and ask a question. And it's really hard for people to not want to be involved in that conversation because it's all about them. I
love that. I'm just checking to make sure I don't see any other questions in here. Okay, just checking real quick. Awesome. I love this conversation. This is good stuff. Good stuff, guys. Like this if you guys are here, if you guys are enjoying this, if it's helpful, hashtag human. I like that one. Human. Yeah. Hashtag human if you guys are picking up what we're putting down here. But so let's transition to the sales conversation a little bit.
Sure.
And now that we're talking like, how we want to be sold to, and we're generating some great opportunities. What's the framework that you use or, when you're having a sales conversation?
Sure. So yeah, discovery call, consult, sales call it what you want to call it. Right.
Right.
So I teach kind of a 4-step framework. And the first thing I love to do is set the agenda. Like, hey, Charlie, I appreciate your time. I have 30 minutes earmarked for this conversation. Does that still work for you? Awesome. Great. My goals today, I want to learn a little bit more about you. I want to hear kind of what's going on in your business as it relates to your accounting needs. I want to hear kind of your goals, where you'd like to go with what's going on in your business. And then I want to hear what other really cool things you're working on. Does that sound fair? And again, there's a psychology of yes, there's a psychology of people like to know where they're going, especially when they're being sold to, right? And we're all real weary of sales conversations. So we want to know, I like to tell people where we're going so they feel in control. And so it's the current situation. So as it relates to your business. And so for you guys, even though you want to get to accounting questions, just tell me about your business. I saw on your website that you've been in business for 10 years. What made you decide to start your business? Get them talking about themselves is always a good way to do it. And then, okay, let's, then once we've built a little rapport, we've got them to tell them stories, we've made them comfortable, then we want to start asking about their current situation as it relates to their accounting. So how are your accounting needs handled today? And then, so current situation. Second step is desired situation. What about that isn't working out for you? What about that is frustrating for you? How do you think that that's like slowing down the growth of your business or profitability or whatever? So current situation, desired situation. Once I know where they want to go, my next step is, why is this important to you? because people buy based on emotion and they justify with logic, right?
Mm-hmm.
So logically, we know that if our accountant can help us, grow our profit margin, we're winning. But what are you going to do with that money? Right? Do you want to reinvest it into your business? Do you want to buy a boat? Do you want to retire? Do you want to open a second location? Right? Like, why is this important to you? Why is your desired situation your goal? Because I want to know how they're emotionally tied to what seems like a very logical conversation. And then that 4th step framework is always like concrete next steps. So I don't know, Charlie, do you teach, do we put together custom proposals and come back and present them? Or do we have some packaging that we're able to pitch in that first conversation? Or what kind of style do you typically pitch?
It can depend on the service. I'll say that, depending on the service of the client. But what I will say is proposals really stink because I haven't really talked about this much in the group, guys, but you may wonder, because I hear a lot of people say, I keep getting ghosted. I can't get this deal done. I can't get it across the finish line. And what's going on is that they're getting all the emotion out on the table on this strategy session or on the call. And then people move on to the next problem, or they forget how much of a pain they had, So, and when they send a proposal, maybe it's not identifying, it's not showing as much of, they're not feeling as much pain as a human to human interaction talking about what's going on. Right.
So that's step 4 of this whole process, is that we never, ever, 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 ever end that first conversation without scheduling the next conversation.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
And I don't email proposals ever.
Right.
Because
I agree with that.
You will get ghosted. So whether it is next steps as far as let's schedule your onboarding call, or next steps, let's schedule our proposal call, we never end a sales call without a next step schedule. Here's why. First of all, it's a trial close. If you will give me that next call, that next conversation, you're interested. If you're not interested and you're just trying to get me out of your office or off the phone, I want to know that. I don't want to waste my time putting together a proposal and clip arting your logo onto this pretty little piece of paper. If you're not interested, just tell me no, or say no, thank you. I'm an adult, I can handle that. So I'm big on saying, hey, Charlie, thank you so much for sharing. Based on what you share with me, I'm not sure that one of my packages is a good fit. I'd like to put together a custom proposal for you, but I have to ask, I have clients that spend anywhere between, $2,000 a month and $8,000 a month to fix these problems. Where in that range, that budget range, do you feel like you can responsibly invest? Right? And then get them to pick a price and then say, okay, what I'm going to do is put a proposal together in that $4,000 range. But I'm also going to show you the $8,000 range as well, just so you can kind of see how much faster we can help you hit your goals if you're willing to invest a little bit more. But I want to put together something you feel comfortable about as well. Listen, can we talk? It's, Wednesday at almost 4:00. Can we talk on Monday at the same time? And really just assume that that's the case. And I'm going to put this proposal together. It's going to be how much you want it to be. And we're going to chat at this time. If they will not commit to that meeting and they say, just send me a proposal, I'm like, Charlie, it's really important to me that we talk through this together. And it's just one of my policies. I don't just email out proposals. Just like you wouldn't do that to your clients, right? You've emailed things out before, right? You know what it's like to get ghosted. Have some fun with it. Be real. Be a human.
That's good.
So, if we want to talk on Monday, or we could talk on Tuesday if that works better for you. And then see if you can get them backtrack and say, just, that's just way out of my budget. That's way out of my range. And then you're able to say, hey, listen, I actually do have some packages. Again, we're not going to be able to cover everything that you want, but we can cover some of it. And that starts at $1,000 a month. Does that feel better? And you can kind of talk through all that.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really, really good stuff there, guys, for sure. And a little accounting piece is a part of this, is that a lot of times in accounting we have to request documents.
Yep.
Maybe we got to get financials or prior year tax returns to make an accurate proposal.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So that's part of it, right? So we probably would want to highlight that in that part of, you tell me, but I would probably recommend, saying so that we can give you an accurate quote.
Okay.
Make sure that we're serving you properly. Let's go ahead and take a look at financials, take a look at your prior year tax return, and how's Monday at 4 p.m. for you?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Same scenario. Yep.
Yeah. But that's exactly when you guys would want to request the documentation.
And then always follow up with the list of documents too. So send an email after the call. So if you have your call at 4:00 on Monday, send an email. Hey, Charlie, really enjoyed our conversation today. I'm super excited. I have a ton of ideas. I cannot wait to share them with you. Here's a list of the documents that I need, and we'll talk about them on Monday at 4 so I can put together an accurate proposal for you. Looking forward to it. But so they have it in writing. Because if they're as busy as you or I, they're going to be like, shit, what did they ask for? So.
Yeah. What do you do? Because I'm sure that you probably would get this objection. Like, just send me some info, send me a proposal.
No.
What do you say when you get that? You just say no. you just say you did mention, you say, what happens when you email people proposals?
Yeah.
Is that,
I found in my experience that is typically I'm not interested. And if you're not interested, Charlie, that's totally okay. And sometimes I'll backtrack and be like, no, I'm just really busy, blah, 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 blah. Or sometimes I'll be like, yeah, I'm just not sure this is the right fit. I'm not sure I'm ready to make an investment in this. Or they might just say, I'm not sure I'm ready to make an investment, but I am really curious. And then how much time and energy to put into it. Like, hey, I can put together some ideas for you. I don't mind doing that because, again, we're providing value, even if you're not ready to invest. And I will email that over to you, but I am going to call you, in 60 days and follow up on that proposal and talk about our next steps. So, because sometimes people will be like, I just generally did not know how much this was going to cost. And you offered a conversation and I'm down for that. And that's cool. I just want to know, there's nothing wrong with that. I just want to know. I don't want to waste my time and energy. It's really where I'm at.
Love that. That's awesome. This is good stuff. I know I keep saying that, but I mean it.
You're going to be sad when I tell you I have to go in 6 minutes because I've got a call.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, I know. I have to drop off here too.
This is like my favorite game too. Like the more fun stuff you throw at me, I'm like, how would you handle this? How would you handle that? Like so much fun for me.
That's cool. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I don't see anybody else really on here this second. So I don't see any questions coming in. People have hopped on and off. I know we have to go in a minute.
That's all right.
Oh yeah, let's talk about a lot of people. Maybe they get a script. They get a script from a coach or a course or something, or they just get one off the internet. What are your thoughts on using a script versus using a framework?
The reason I don't teach scripts is because most people don't do well with scripts. So even in the corporate world, I used to get asked that all the time. Like, Ryan, what questions should I ask during the discovery? Give me a list of questions. And what I found is what most people do with a list of questions is they ask a question and they check it off and they move on to a next question and they check it off and they move on to the next question. And what I think that doesn't allow them to do, Charlie, is to just have a conversation. Like the next question should come from the answer to that question, not be the next question on the list. So I want to keep exploring that one line of questioning as long as you'll let me. And then I'll be like, okay, well, let's talk a little bit more about this. But that's why I don't love lists or scripts. But if it helps you stay focused, then you have to do what works for you. I do not believe there's one right way to do it. But if you're going to use it, practice it, practice it, practice it, practice it, practice it. So it does not sound like you are reading.
What is your annual revenue? Right. asking question after question, like you said, check.
Right. But meanwhile, you missed that their answer to their last question would have exploded a huge problem they're having in their business and gotten all sorts of frustration, but you were too damn worried about the next question on the list to explode.
Absolutely. Ryann, this has been really good.
Awesome. It's been so much fun. Thanks for having me here, Charlie. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. So everybody, if you haven't jumped on yet, go run over to Sales Skills for Women in Business right now. I had to make sure I said that right. Sales Skills for Women in Business right now. I put the link in the comments below, so you guys can jump on there. But jump on here again soon, Ryann. Okay. Love to have you back.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity, you guys. Thank you so much. And I always get this question, do you only work with women? My group coaching program is absolutely with women, but I do have a podcast called the Uncensored Sales Podcast. So if my fast talking profanity is something that you find interesting, and the podcast is a lot of fun too, then feel free to send me a direct message. I'm totally open to having conversations and brainstorming ideas. So yeah, men and women, I'm totally up to supporting you guys and helping you sell in a way that feels good to you. So thank you, Charlie, for opening your community. Awesome. And like I said, feel free to reach out if you have any questions.
Cool. Glad to have you here, and we'll see you again soon.
Awesome. Bye guys. See you later.
Bye guys.